Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Talk Grimm Edition. I'm your host Josh, and this is the place where we dive into the dark, whimsical world of the Brothers Grimm. Whether you're a longtime fan of fairy tales or just starting to discover them, you're in the right spot. Each episode, I'll read a classic Grimm's fairy tale and then explore its deeper meanings, lessons, and how it may apply to our modern culture. From the well-known stories like Cinderella to more obscure ones that still carry a punch, we're going to get into what makes these tales so timeless, and sometimes downright eerie. But this isn't just about reading stories. It's about peeling back the layers and looking at what these stories really teach us. The Grimm brothers didn't shy away from showing the darker side of life. And in many ways, those darker elements hold some of the most powerful messages. Whether it's about good versus evil, human nature, or just the consequences of choices. So whether you're here for the ride of a familiar story or to uncover something you haven't heard before, stick with me as we explore the fascinating and sometimes twisted world of Grimm's fairy tales. Today, we'll be discussing Fair Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and enjoy the tale. A brief warning before we get started. There's some strange words in this, so I may not pronounce them exactly correct. Please take it easy on me. And with that being said, here is Fair Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie. Good day, Father Whole-Length. Many thanks, Pif Paf Poltrie. May I be allowed to have your daughter? Oh yes, if Mother Malcho, Brother High and Mighty, Sister Kestrot, and Fair Katrinelje are willing, you can have her. Where is Mother Malcho, then? She is in the cowhouse, milking the cow. Good day, Mother Malcho. Many thanks, Pif Paf Poltrie. May I be allowed to have your daughter? Oh yes, if Father Whole-Length, Brother High and Mighty, Sister Kestrot, and Fair Katrinelje are willing, you can have her. Where is Brother High and Mighty, then? He is in the room chopping some wood. Good day, Brother High and Mighty. Many thanks, Pif Paf Poltrie. May I be allowed to have your sister? Oh yes, if Father Whole-Length, Mother Malcho, Sister Kestrot, and Fair Katrinelje are willing, you can have her. Where is Sister Kestrot, then? She is in the garden cutting cabbages. Good day, Sister Kestrot. Many thanks, Pif Paf Poltrie. May I be allowed to have your sister? Oh yes, if Father Whole-Length, Mother Malcho, Brother High and Mighty, and Fair Katrinelje are willing, you may have her. Where is Fair Katrinelje, then? She is in the room counting out her farthings. Good day, Fair Katrinelje. Many thanks, Pif Paf Poltrie. Wilt thou be my bride? Oh yes, if Father Whole-Length, Mother Malcho, Brother High and Mighty, and Sister Kestrot are willing, I am ready. Fair Katrinelje, how much dowry hast thou? 14 farthings in ready money, 3.5 groschen owing to me, half a pound of dried apples, a handful of fried bread, and a handful of spices. And many other things are mine. Have I not a dowry fine? Pif Paf Poltrie, what is thy trade? Art thou a tailor? Something better? A shoemaker? Something better? A husbandman? Something better? A joiner? Something better? A smith? Something better? A miller? Something better? Perhaps a broom maker? Yes, that's what I am. Is it not a fine trade? All right, so that was Fair Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie. A bit of a mouthful of a title, and definitely one of the more unusual of the Grimm's tales. But beyond the quirky names and the repetitive dialogue, there's actually quite a bit going on here in this short story. So let's take a moment and break that down. So what's this story really about? At first glance, it might seem just like maybe a playful bit of nonsense, kind of a verbal game where one person has to go through a checklist of approvals before getting what they want. And honestly, for me, that's part of the charm. It's structured almost like a call and response joke. But beneath the humor is a satirical take on something very real. The way marriage was traditionally handled, not as a personal choice, but as a social contract negotiated by family members. Pif Paf Poltrie, our eager suitor, has to go down the line, father, mother, brother, sister, before even getting to speak with Katrinelje herself. And when he finally does, she's still deferring back to the family's decision. This wasn't unusual in the past. Marriage wasn't ever about romance. It was about alliances, financial stability, and ensuring a family's future. The story captures that reality, but it exaggerates it to the point of absurdity, making it clear that these traditions, while serious in real life, can be a bit ridiculous when you really think about them. And then there's the matter of the dowry. Katrinelje proudly lists out what she brings to the table, and, well, it's not exactly a treasure chest of riches. 14 farthings, some money that's owed to her, some dried apples, a handful of fried bread, some spices. And it's a moderate dowry at best. But the fact that she presents it with such confidence is where the humor is. It's like she feels she's trying to make it sound more impressive than it really is. And on the flip side, we've got Pif Paf Poltrie, who refuses to say what he does for a living until the very last moment. He keeps hinting that he has a better trade, leaving room for the imagination. Maybe he's a craftsman or a blacksmith, maybe a merchant. No, he's a broom maker. Now, no offense to broom makers, but after all that build-up, it's kind of a letdown, and that seems intentional. I think the story is poking fun at how people like to inflate their own importance, particularly when it comes to things like their career status. So, what is the moral takeaway here? Well, first, there's marriage as a social agreement, because the story reminds us that for a long time, marriage wasn't about love or personal happiness. It was a decision that was made by the entire family. And now today, most people have more freedom in choosing their partners. Family approval is still a big deal in many cultures. And then there's status and practicality over romance. Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie don't exchange a single romantic word. Their conversation is all about logistics, family permissions, dowries, and profession. Love, as we think of it today, never enters into the equation. And then there's the absurdity of social formalities, the exaggerated, repetitive way that the story is told. It feels like it's really making fun of how rigid these traditions were. By the time we get through every family member's approval, the whole process starts feeling kind of ridiculous. So how does all this relate to today? Even though arranged marriages aren't as common in the majority of the world, family influence on relationships is still very real. Parents might not be outright arranging marriages anymore, but their opinions on a partner's job, background, and financial stability still carry some weight in many cultures. And speaking of finances, this story, it highlights a concern that still exists today: material security. We don't talk about dowries much anymore, but money still plays a role in marriage decisions. How many people worry about whether their partner is financially stable before making the big commitment? The same idea is baked into this story, just in a more old-fashioned kind of way. And then there's the judgment of professions. Pif Paf Poltrie, he dodges the questions about his trades, and that's something we still see today. People tend to measure others by their careers. How often do we hear, "Oh, you're just something here," as if someone's entire worth is tied to their profession? This tale reminds us of how silly that mindset really is. And finally, you can look at it as a challenge to tradition. The way the story humorously over-explains the marriage approval process almost feels like maybe it's questioning whether these old customs even make sense. And in today's world, we see people constantly pushing against traditions, whether it's about marriage or career expectations, or now gender roles. So, final thoughts. Fair Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie is not the most famous Grimm tale, but it is a fun and surprisingly relevant look at how people approach relationships and status and social expectations. It's playful, a little absurd, and at its heart, a reminder not to take rigid traditions too seriously. But what do you think? Is this just a silly little fairy tale, or do you see a deeper message in it? And that wraps up this episode of Real Talk Grimm Edition. I hope you enjoyed diving into Fair Katrinelje and Pif Paf Poltrie as much as I did, and exploring those deeper meanings. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you have thoughts on today's tale, whether you agree, disagree, or maybe just have your own take, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out on social media at Real Talk on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, or send an email to therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Let me know what you think, or just say hi. And if you're enjoying the show, consider leaving a rating or review, because it really helps others find us and keep the conversation going. But as always, thank you for listening, and until next time, stay curious, question the stories around you, and keep exploring the darker side of fairy tales.